Donald Trump commanded the theft of an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. I believe America has done this before as well. Let's take a look.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an interesting day from the standpoint of news. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
Chuck Schumer won't say if he opposes regime change in Venezuela. Oh my God. This is who we got. This is who we got, dude.
Disagree with President Trump's ultimate goal of regime change?
This is the guy leading the charge against Donald Trump, dude.
In Venezuela?
Look, the bottom line is President Trump throws out so many different things in so many different ways. You don't even know what the heck he's talking about. You know, obviously, if Maduro would just flee on his own, everyone would like that. But we don't know what the heck he's up to when he...
Hello? What are you talking about, brother? That's the...
He talks about that. So it's very, very... You cannot say, I endorse this, I endorse that, when Trump is all over the lot, not very specific, and very worrisome at how far he might escalate.
Careful, last time you watched a video like this, you got accused of being a terrorist propagandist. Yeah. Remember when we watched the Ansar Allah movement take over a tanker? Yeah, they were doing that to implement a blockade against the state of Israel that was, at the time, committing a genocide. America's doing this because they can, and that's it. Because they want to do their own potential genocide in Venezuela. Fantastic. The Ansar Allah movement did this off the coastline of Yemen. America's doing this off the coastline of Venezuela. A different country, a sovereign nation. Oh, but of course, I watch one and say they're doing right. I'm a terrorist. I watch this and I say this is up, I'm a terrorist again.
What happened? I mean, I know exactly what happened. It kind of started a little bit, but we'll see if we can put it out.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. Well, what happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going?
Follow it. Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're going to, I assume we're going to keep the oil.
I am universally pro seizing ships no matter who's doing it. We need to bring back old school pirates. Trump looks like, talks like, is talking. Today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, and the United States Coast Guard, with support from the Department of War, executed a seizure warrant for a crude oil tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. For multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to his involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. I love that. It's illegal for other countries that we don't want to do trade with one another to actually end up doing trade with one another, so we're just going to steal it. This seizure, completed off the coast of Venezuela, was conducted safely and securely, and our investigation alongside the Department of Homeland Security to prevent the transport of sanctioned oil continues. Yeah, try this with Russia, man. Come on, get bold. This was a 20-year-old oil tanker called the Skipper. I believe it was sanctioned years prior to this actual incident. The seizure was initially announced by President Trump. Operation to seize the tanker began at 6 a.m. Tanker was sanctioned by the Treasury 3 years ago. Isn't that awesome? We could just decide that, you know, you're not allowed to engage in any trade whatsoever. Two countries that we decided are bad are engaging in trade with one another. Nope, not allowed. It's all might makes right. Law of the jungle. For the record, for the Treasury to sanction something like this requires pretty much nothing, okay? That's why the sanctions process controlled by the Treasury is, unfortunately, one of the most used and abused tools that we have in our arsenal. And if you're wondering how the cable news is reporting the U.S. seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker, here's CNN saying this is absolutely normal.
Seeing a tanker, how could this escalate the conflict with Venezuela?
Well, you know, we've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil since the first Trump administration. And
Biden kept them.
Kept them.
Yeah.
So to me, this is absolutely normal. I mean...
Seizing an oil tanker?
Yeah. We've been seizing Iranian oil tankers in the past. We also...
Are you seriously excusing Venezuela filling an oil tanker with fentanyl and shipping it to America? That could kill every cop in America 200 times over. That would have been even a better lie to tell if they were like, this is not really an oil tanker. There's fentanyl in it or something. Nope. They were just like, no, it has oil and it's going to Iran and we don't like that. It's our oil now. They could have tried and at least lied and said it's filled to the brim with fentanyl, you know? Why would they need to even do that when This is what is coming from liberal news. This is the liberal newscast, okay, at CNN, Clinton News Network, Centrism News Network. They're like, no, absolutely, it's perfectly valid. Why is it perfectly valid? Because we've been doing it. We've done it before. Okay, it was not valid when you did it before either. What the
According to the law that I've read, that oil is up for forfeiture. So we could keep that. We've kept Iranian oil in the past. So I actually think that this is...
Remember, one of the things that Biden did was unfreeze assets, or not unfreeze assets, but unfreeze payments that Korea owed Iran for purchasing Iranian oil. And that was a big deal at the time in the media. They were like, how dare Biden do this? They're funding Iran. They're giving Iran $1 billion. And if you recall, at the time, I said, it is ridiculous that we froze those assets to begin with. It was ridiculous that we stopped the trade between two foreign nations because we don't like one of those nations. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It was Iran's own money that we froze, that we did not allow Korea to send to Iran for the oil that they sold to Korea. Do you feel the same about Russian frozen assets and sanctions? I don't. And the reason why I don't is because, unlike Iran, at least Russia is doing okay? There's a difference between deciding at the behest of Israel that Iran is this enemy state that we have to destroy, okay? Or Venezuela because of our own foreign interests, a nation state that we have to destroy, is a little different than like one sovereign nation invading another one in an act of irredentism. There is a difference there. Like, I'm not saying across the board that you shouldn't try to leverage negotiations when other countries actually decide to act out or do something that's ultimately harmful. The American justification for Iran and the Iranian sanctions, in my opinion, are bullshit. Okay, they'll say, oh, they're funding terror networks. They're funding the network of resistance with the funds that they're getting from selling oil. There would be no need for a resistance network in the region if America wasn't dominating the region to begin with. That's the difference. That's why I think it's bullshit. The issue here is that only America gets to do this because they dominate the planet.
Less controversial in terms of law and sanctions and what has been, disputed or not disputed. Like, I think this is actually a pretty, check the box case. Mm-hmm. Now, what will this mean in terms of escalation? What is he going to do? What is Maduro going to do? Is he going to step aside?
That's the analysis. Oh my God. I mean, this is just might is right. We're just the bullies. What is he going to do? What are they going to do? Do something about it. Okay, thanks. Great take from CNN. This is ridiculous, dude. There will come a day. Hopefully I won't be alive to see it, but there will come a day. Eventually, American power on the global stage is already waning, and it's going to diminish to a degree where people will no longer consider America to be this like invulnerable nation. America has already done enough damage on the global stage post-World War II to invite a lot of enmity anyway. Treasury sanctions are so pervasive and so vast that it quite literally forced a secondary market to be created. They created it out of necessity. If you sanction everybody, technically, the only person you're sanctioning is yourselves, right? One day, a flip will switch. This kind of attitude cannot continue forever. U.S. President Donald Trump, after stealing Venezuela's oil tanker, now threatens Colombian President Gustavo Petro.
The president of Mexico, you already talked to Nicolas Maduro. Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug leader?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next.
Mr. President,
because we don't like people when they kill people, and they sell drugs. They kill them in the United States, and Colombia is a major manufacturer of drugs, meaning cocaine in particular, as you know.
The more people get mad about grocery prices, the more racist he gets and the more he wants to threaten war. It's crazy. His approval ratings go down a little bit. He's like, all right, time to do more war. Another country. You're next. It's insane. Anytime someone brings up the Epstein files, he's like, all right, I'm going to target a new minority group. It's dope. Like, this is why I'm more frustrated with like the Chuck Schumers of the world that are just letting this hang, you know?
Well, this will definitely inflame tensions. And President Trump was on the phone with President Maduro last week, asking him to step down. Since the President Maduro isn't going anywhere, it definitely seems like we are inching closer to actually war with.
Like, you guys realize that all of this unbiased news coverage, right? In air quotes, unbiased news coverage is basically just saying like Maduro's so selfish for not handing off the country to our puppet. Like, that's all this is. It's like, wow, how selfish of him. Does he want Venezuelans to die? Bitch, who's killing the Venezuelans? We are. Like, what do you mean? It's so insane. It's like, wow, I can't believe he just won't step away and allow our puppet to actually be the rightful leader of Venezuela because we decided so. Obviously, we're an unstoppable force. There's nothing we can do about it. Also, once again, just like Israel, America is demonstrating that it does have the capabilities of restraint or overtaking a boat without actually lasering it from the sky. So that's the other side of this story as well. It turns out we can do that. Just didn't realize that we could do that with the 80 plus boaters that we have killed off the coastline of Venezuela already. But I guess it's because it's an oil tanker. No, oil tankers are slow. Yeah, okay. Coast Guard is not fast enough to catch. Go fast boats, get out of here. No, the reason why we didn't blow up the boat is because it is an oil tanker and we love the oil. Oil is more important to us than human lives are. If those other little boats were also shipping a ton of oil, then, you know, we probably would be much nicer to the boats as well. It would have caught fire? What are you talking? It would have caught fire. Brother, we're blowing up entire boats. Who gives a shit if it caught fire? The reason why they didn't blow up the oil tanker is because we wanted to steal the oil. You think these guys care about death and destruction? What do you think missiles do when they make contact with a boat?
Respond? Do you think the U.S. Is going to start moving in country?
Well, I would sure hope that the president would seek congressional approval before he invaded Venezuela.
What do you mean? That's not the main point of contention. That's not. Oh my God.
So I don't think they're planning a true land invasion with U.S. forces. I do think we may see missile strikes against particular drug storage facilities. But if
I like that the counter from liberals is like, well, do it the right way, please. Like, hello, I know you're seizing oil of two foreign sovereign nations doing trade with one another, but can you please do it the right way? Do it by the book, please. Like, we'll give you that allowance. You just got to do it the right way. And Trump's like, no, I'm not going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it the wrong way. Who gives a It's awesome.
He really wants to pressure Maduro to go away. He's going to need to do more than just missile strikes against some random drug facilities. And Kara, I do want to highlight that if the United States Coast Guard is able to interdict successfully, which it apparently has, a huge oil tanker, why isn't it interdicting the small drug boats that it's instead the Navy's been told to just blow out of the water since September? So it really seems that this really isn't about the drugs. This is about regime change against Nicolas Maduro. So this is dangerous, and we have U.S. forces and potentially going in.
Yeah. What could it be about, chat? I know this news coverage is about interdicting an oil tanker, but what could this be about? Potentially regime change, right? Not about the drugs. Okay, correct. But what else could it be about aside from the regime change? I wonder, even the regime change itself, I wonder if that could also, I don't know, lead to the extraction of some kind of natural resource that I just can't seem to put my finger on in the news coverage that I'm doing about oil tankers being seized by the American government. I wonder.
Well, I mean, I think the United States, there's overwhelming superiority by the United States military against Venezuela. But as we saw with Iraq, we can't just expect to take folks out and for regime change to happen overnight. We do have the woman that just won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Who was an opposition figure against Nicolas Maduro, but she's not even in country as far as I know right now, because she was accepting her Nobel Peace Prize. But it usually requires requires U.S. troops on the ground for something like regime change, which is something President Trump promised during his campaign that he wasn't going to do. We were done with overseas long involved engagements with the U.S. military. So it's really going to be interesting to see just what kind of military pressure the administration.
Guyana sold oil rights to Cisco for pennies on the dollar in a region that Venezuela made a sovereignty claim over. Obviously, regime change is bad, but what do you think about Guyana's claim to the oil? I don't think Venezuela has claim to the oil in Guyana. for the record. And it's not up to them. It's not up to Maduro. It's not up to anybody else. I know that Maduro was trying to lay claim, which was also very frustrating for a lot of the other regional actors as well. I mean, it's definitely not up to the U.S. It is up to the U.S. Let's be real. Obviously, Guyana gets to have very little say on this, or at least the population gets to have very little say on this. But just because I think it's silly to say like, oh, Venezuela's doing this in an anti-imperialist manner or something. What is the significance of Venezuela's naval incursion in the Guyana? No, I'm familiar with what was going on at the time. Guyana was stolen from Venezuela. There's definitely a fair claim. At this stage, it's up to the population. The issue, of course, is that a lot of smaller countries that were former European colonies end up not really having the best interests of their population in mind. So it ends up becoming the claim of ExxonMobil. Anyway, I'm not going to get into this. This is irrelevant to the point of contention here, unless liberals are using it to justify war with Venezuela. There's no reason to talk about it at the moment.
Things they can bring to bear to actually force regime change without actually putting troops on the ground.
All right, stay tuned. We'll keep tracking it. Selena, Rachel, thank you both.
While the few private companies can hire the entire U.S. military, what are you talking about? That's literally the entire history of the U.S. military. I think the end all be all is to gatekeep the oil from China because China figured out a way to refine Venezuela's hard to refine oil, and it seems like Venezuela wants to keep playing ball with China. I don't think America has direct use for Venezuelan oil because it's considered sour and not sweet. I think this is Nixon madman theory on steroids to get at China all the way from Venezuela. I don't disagree with you. I do think that a lot of the ways that the American government is currently moving is directly trying to undermine any sort of regional influence or aspirations that China might have. China has increased its alliances in Latin America.